Good morning, my dear children of class 11. Welcome to my video. In this video we will learn about cell, and in lower classes we have learned about the cell, which is the fundamental unit of life. So here we are going to learn this in detail. Let us begin. So again, you know that Robert Hooke is the scientist who discovered the cell. This is the image of the scientist Robert Hooke, who discovered the cell. So he observed what is called the cork cells. And he found that these compartment-like structures, which he called as cork cells. Which he called as cells. So cork is what? The outer portion of woody plants. The outer portion of the trunk consists of protective layer called a cork. It is part of the bark, you know. Then these cells, these compartments, Robert Hooke observed, so he called it cells, meaning compartments. Okay. Now later many of the scientists worked on that, and these prominent scientists, one is Matthias Schleiden. He is a plant scientist or botanist. He found that all plants are made up of cells. Then at the same time, Theodor Schwann, he is a zoologist, animal scientist. He observed that all animals are also made up of cells. So they concluded that all organisms are made up of cells. So Matthias Schleiden said all plants are made up of cells. Then Theodor Schwann said all animals are made up of cells. Then later Rudolf Virchow added another point. He observed that cells arise from pre-existing cells. So all these 3 points together, or they are the important points of cell theory. So who proposed cell theory? Matthias Schleiden, Theodor Schwann and Rudolf Virchow. Then comes and there are many other scientists also contributed and see what are the contributions. Let us see. Number 1, Anton van Leeuwenhoek in 1672. He is a Dutch scientist who designed a crude microscope to observe microbes, RBCs, etc., red blood corpuscles. Then because of this microscope it is possible to observe the cells. Then in 1831 Robert Brown discovered the nucleus of the cell. Remember, Robert Hooke observed the cells the compartments, but later many scientists started studying about it. So nucleus is discovered by Robert Brown. Then another scientist, J. Purkinje, in 1839, he named a jelly-like material or substance inside the cell as protoplasm. Now we have learned that the protoplasm is the living material inside the cell. Then Rudolf Virchow, we have seen, he generalized that cells arise from pre-existing cells and omnicellulae cellula in his language, which means that cells arise from pre-existing cells. That is, the already existing cell give rise to new cells. Now you know that cell division takes place, daughter cells are formed by cell division. This all we've learned. And now let us see some aspects or some facts about the cell. First of all, let us see the shape and size of the cell. The shape and size of the cell vary according to the function they perform or they are performed. See, for different function the cells have to be adapted. So all cells in our body are of not uniform shape or uniform size. I'll show you certain images. Even in the same body, in our body, for example, there are different kinds of the cells in different parts of the body. Shape and size and structure is different, and this is controlled by, number 1, the requirement of nutrients and removal of waste material. How much nutrients they are required? See, nutrients required are not same for all kind of cells depending upon their activity. So the size of the cell depends on or controlled by requirement of nutrients and also removal of waste material. How much waste have to be removed? And second point in this is regulating ability of the nucleus. See, nucleus is the control center of the center of the cell, and which control all activities of the cell. So that regulating ability of the nucleus. So these points, that the shape and size depends on these 2 points. Okay. Now let us move some more points to, general knowledge, some more points to remember. Like the biggest, see, you have learned that cells are microscopic, but ostrich egg is the largest cell. See, its diameter is 170 into 155 millimeter. So this is the largest cell on earth. Then Mycoplasma gallisepticum is the smallest cell. Then one more, PPLO, Pleuropneumonia-like organisms. In the first chapter classification we have learnt PPLO. These are the smallest, सबसे smallest, Mycoplasma gallisepticum. Then Acetabullaria, it is a green unicellular alga, single-celled alga, which is the largest plant cell. And in our body, the longest cell is nerve cell. You see, nerve cell is about 90 centimeter in length. So, longest cell is nerve cell. Then, viruses, in earlier classes you have learned viruses are in the borderline between living and non-living. They have life only inside the cell. Outside the cell, they act as non-living. So, viruses are considered as connecting link between living and the non-living. So, these are some of the general knowledge points you have to remember. Then, based on the number of cells, the organisms are classified into 2 types. See, some organisms, their body is made up of only single cell. So, they are called the unicellular organisms or single-celled organisms. You have learned many examples. Some common examples or familiar examples are amoeba, paramecium, then chlamydomonas, etc. They are unicellular organisms. In other organisms, there are many cells. Their body consists of so many cells. Like in human body, there are millions of cells. So these organisms are called multicellular organisms. See, all animals, plants and fungi, they are multicellular. With this point also you are very familiar. In Unit 1 we have already learned this. So it is just a revision, unicellular and multicellular organisms. And in unicellular organisms, all the metabolic activities are performed by the single cell. ऐसा भी नहीं है इनमें सारे एक्टिविटीज़ और सम एक्टिविटीज़ reduce होते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है. Unicellular organisms, their single cell perform all the life activities, whereas in multicellular organisms there exists division of labor. As the name indicates, division of labor means the work is divided among different organisms. The work is divided among different organisms. Different cells. Okay, you have learned in smaller classes, cells are organized into tissues, and tissues, each kind of tissue perform a different function. Then cell shape is also, as I told you in the first beginning, cell shape and size vary. Cell shape reflects again function of the cell. Just a few examples you can see here. For example, our nerve cells, long extensions of nerve cell which are suitable for these kind of shape suitable for, it is suitable for sending and sending the messages, okay, or receiving the messages. Then our skin cell, if we take, they are flat plate like to cover and protect. You know, skin has the function of covering and protecting the body. So see, the cells that cover the body surface as well as cover the internal line, they act as the internal lining. So the structure, the shape, size and structure depending on, and you know, in plants also we have learnt, wherever the function of tissues to protect, they don't have intercellular space. See, closely packed flat cells here. Then here is another shaped cells. This is cells that store fat droplets or lipid droplets. Adipose tissue cells we have learned. So this is, see the shape where the center is filled with the cavity, which is filled, center occupies the cavity which is filled with the lipid droplet. Then nerve cell, then muscle cells, they have to contract and relax, and so they're long fiber like, and there are different kinds of cells. So cells that move organs and body parts, cells that cover and line the body parts, and cells that store nutrients like fats, adipose tissue cell and nerve cells. So like that, every part of the body has differently shaped cells depending upon the function. This is the important point. Okay children, so you have seen this, shape and size of the cell vary, that is the point. Then comes in plants also, if we take, different parts of the plants have differently shaped cells. They form, I mean, in each kind of tissue there is a different shape of the cell. For example, epidermal cell has to protect, so you can see intercellular space is less, and this long kind of cells. And then here is the palisade cells. You know that they have chlorophyll, and these this is suitable for photosynthesizing. Then these are the kidney shaped or bean shaped guard cells, and these are for guarding the stoma or stomata. Then here is the root cells which have an extension called epidermal cells, which have extensions called root hair. This is suitable for absorbing water, so absorption of water or photosynthesis or protection. Plants also have differently shaped cells. So clear the point, cells, the shape and size of the cells depend on the function they perform. Okay, knowing this, let us move on to the next. Then organisms are again classified based on the type of cell. Earlier we have seen based on the number of cells, unicellular and multicellular. Now based on the types of cells, organisms are of two types. These are prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes have a prokaryotic cell. For example, bacteria, cyanobacteria, etc. They are prokaryotes. In kingdom Monera, we have learned in classification the chapter that Monerans are prokaryotes. All prokaryotes are classified as classified into kingdom Monera. Then eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cell, animals, plants, amoeba, rest of all except Monerans all have a eukaryotic cell, and they are called the eukaryotes. Now what is the difference? Prokaryotes do not have a nuclear membrane and membrane bound organelles. Prokaryotes do not have a proper nucleus or incomplete nucleus they have, and they have certain organelles. All organelles are not there, and membrane bound organelles which are present in eukaryotes are absent in prokaryotes. And eukaryotes have proper nucleus and organelles. All organelles are there, and a proper, that is complete nucleus, because nucleus is covered by a nuclear membrane or envelope. So based on the type of cell we can classify organisms into prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes have prokaryotic cell and eukaryotes have a eukaryotic cell. Okay, now we come to, we will learn about the prokaryotic cell structure in detail, and after that eukaryotic cell. So in this video I will explain about the prokaryotic cell structure. So before that, let us revise what we have learned. Prokaryotes are bacteria and cyanobacteria. You have learned in the first chapter archaebacteria, eubacteria and cyanobacteria are included in prokaryotes, and these are unicellular and prokaryotic cell. So bacteria are classified based on the shape into coccus, which are spherical or round shaped, then bacilli or bacillus, which are rod shaped, then vibrio comma shaped, and spirillum or spirali plural, this is spiral shaped, as you can see. So coccus, bacillus, spirillum and vibrio depending on the shape of the cell. See, coccus bacteria are spherical, and sometimes two cells are close together attached, and then it is called a diplo. Diplo means double cells are there, diplococci. Or sometimes many of them, many aggregate cells aggregate, and staphylococci. Then streptococci, somewhat the cells join to form a means it is called a streptococci or streptococcus bacteria. So this is this is the kind of prokaryote, that is bacteria. Now we come to cyanobacteria or prokaryotes. These are few examples of cyanobacteria we have learnt. They are nitrogen fixers: nostoc, oscillatoria and anabina. They were earlier included in plant kingdom, but in 5 kingdom classification they are in kingdom Monera. So these also have prokaryotic cell. Okay. Then bacteria have some of them have flagella. So depending upon the type of flagellar arrangement, there are these different kinds. We will come back to this image a little later after we come to. So let us see this. This is a typical prokaryotic cell. Bacteria and cyanobacteria have prokaryotic cell. Pro means primitive, karyo, the word is related to nucleus. So they have primitive nucleus, as I said. So let us see the internal structure of a prokaryotic cell. So here see, the cell wall is there, and then the cell wall, the outer covering is called a cell envelope. Cell envelope. So this is the cell envelope. Then here is the cell membrane and cytoplasm. Cytoplasm has different structures, and this is the main thing you have to remember. The nucleus, the chromosome, the circular single chromosome in this region. This region is called a nucleoid. The DNA is in the nucleoid region. As you can see, there is no nuclear membranes. That is why it is prokaryotic cell. It has the genetic material, the DNA, but it is not surrounded by a nuclear membrane. So this region is called a nucleoid. Okay. Then cytoplasm, and some of the bacteria have this is called a chromosomal DNA, but the extra chromosomal or cytoplasmic DNA, again circular, this is called a plasmid. This is of very much importance for biotechnology. We will learn in class 12. So plasmid is extra chromosomal DNA. So this chromosomal DNA carry out all the normal metabolic processes or functions, but this plasmid DNA give them some special characteristics, like or special feature like antibiotic resistance. They can resist the antibiotic. We cannot kill them with the antibiotics. Okay. Then comes the spilus capsule. Then organelles are absent, membrane bound organelles are not there, but certain structures like ribosomes are there. We have already learned in earlier classes, ribosomes are not membrane bound, they are scattered in the cytoplasm, and ribosomes are for synthesizing proteins. Then some of the bacteria have a flagella. Okay, so flagella, then the spilus, sex spilus, this is, what is this, I will tell you. Now we come to the flagella. Let us go back to that diagram. flagella. So flagella are arranged differently. So accordingly, some bacteria, they do not have any flagella. They are called atrichous. See, tricho means hair. Maybe the term comes from here. Atrichous means no flagella. This bacterium does not have any flagellum. Then some are called monotrichous. So depending upon the flagellar arrangement. So second is monotrichous. Monotrichous. Mono means single. See, single flagellum. Okay. And amphi means dual. Amphibia you have learned. So amphi means dual. So amphitrichous means the two flagella, one on each side or each pole of the cell. Amphitrichous. Okay, single flagella on each side. So amphitrichous. Then peritrichous means all over the cell, all over the body or cell there is flagellum. So peritrichous, the periphery of the cell, they have flagella all over. Then lophotrichous means a group of flagellae are there, but then on one side only or one pole of the cell. So this is called a lophotrichous. And then cephalotrichous, both the side, groups of flagella on both the sides. Here is there, here also. So this is called a cephalotrichous. So please learn the term. Depending upon the flagellar arrangement, we can call or we can classify bacteria into these many types. Okay. Then knowing this, let us go on to the details about the cell. See, this is the cell structure. So all that parts we have seen in the image, I will explain here. So first is the envelope, cell envelope. The outer covering is called the cell envelope. And cell envelope consists of these three parts, which are glycocalyx, cell wall and cell membrane. So all these three parts together form a single structure called the cell envelope, and this is for protection, and many other features are there. Then we will learn all the three parts separately. First, depending upon the type of cell wall or type of staining, as per their cell wall characteristic, some bacteria can be stained with the Gram stain. Gram is the scientist who discovered this kind of this type of staining. So those which take up the Gram stain is called and colored, they are called Gram positive bacteria. And some which cannot be stained or which do not take up the stain, they are called Gram negative bacteria. So depending upon, so this whether they take up or not, depending upon the cell wall characteristics. There are certain chemicals in the cell wall which is what allow them to take up or allow or they do not take. So Gram positive and Gram negative bacteria. Then comes to glycocalyx. It's the outside. Glycocalyx is the outside, is in the outside of the cell wall in Gram negative bacteria. And in Gram negative bacteria it is made up of polysaccharides, and in Gram positive bacteria it is made up of peptidoglycan. So glycocalyx is there, the outer covering of outer part of the cell envelope is the glycocalyx. Now let us learn an important point about glycocalyx. So sometimes glycocalyx in some it is slimy and jelly-like, then it is called a slime layer or slimy layer. So this is somewhat fluid, and sometimes it is thick and tough. Okay, thick and tough, and so that is called a capsule. So glycocalyx can be a capsule or it is a slime layer. Slime layer is loose gelatinous covering and the capsule is thick and tough. Okay, and Gram negative bacteria, glycocalyx is made up of polysaccharides, and in Gram positive bacteria it's made up of peptidoglycan. Hope you have understood this point. Let us move on to next. Then next part is cell membrane. See, cell envelope has a cell membrane. The third part of the cell membrane is cell envelope is cell membrane or plasma membrane. Okay, so Plasma membrane. The third part of the cell envelope is cell membrane or plasma membrane. You know, you are familiar with the cell membrane is just like that in eukaryotes itself. Eukaryotes do not have this glycocalyx and all cell envelope. They have, plants have cell wall, and cell membrane is present universally in all organisms, the outer covering of the protoplasm. And we have learned the characteristics of cell membrane. It is selectively permeable or semi-permeable, made up of proteins and lipids, isn't it? And so these three are forming the cell envelope. Okay, so cell envelope consists of glycocalyx, cell wall and cell membrane. Now let us see the cell membrane in bacteria. Certain invaginations are there. Certain invaginations are there like this, and this is called a mesosome. Mesosome is the infolding or invaginations to the inside. Okay, many places it can be there. This is one. And what is the function of this? And this mesosome is present either in the form of vesicle, for example this vesicle, okay, or tubules, tubular or lamellae. So these three kinds of mesosomes are there. And mesosomes are very important for prokaryotes. It helps in cell wall formation, so it is very important. Then it helps in DNA replication. DNA replicates at the time of cell division. We will learn in detail in next chapter. So DNA replication, mesosome helps, and distribution, DNA replication and distribute the DNA into daughter cells. Then respiration and in secretion process to increase the surface area of the cell membrane, and enzymatic content. Okay, so secretion process, which is to increase the surface area of cell membrane, and enzymatic content. So you have learned an important structure in the prokaryotic cell, mesosome. Mesosomes are not in eukaryotes. Okay, then nuclear, this cell structure I have shown you already. Plasmid is extra chromosomal DNA, and this is the chromosomal DNA in the nucleoid region. So this we have learned. Now let us see what are the other structures. In some bacteria, chromatophores are present, and chromatophores are in cyanobacteria. They help in photosynthesis. Pigmented bodies. Then flagella, I have already told you, arise from the cell wall and made up of a protein called a flagellin. Flagellin is the protein with which flagellum is made up of. And flagellum consists of three parts: a filament, a hook and a basal body. So these are the parts of the flagella or flagellum, and made up of protein called a flagellin. Then ribosomes I have showed you. Ribosomes are involved in protein synthesis. Then besides these, there are certain, see there is no membrane bound organelles, but there are certain inclusion bodies are there which are not bound by any membranes. So these inclusion bodies have reserve, they store the reserve materials like phosphate granules, synophysin granules, glycogen granules, which are required for the cellular activities, and stored food materials. Then another inclusion body is gas vacuole, and gas vacuole is present in purple and green photosynthetic bacteria. So I told you this chromatophores, they help in photosynthesis. So photosynthesis light is required. So these gas vacuoles are there in such bacteria. They help them, these vacuoles help them to position themselves in the water column. They are aquatic, so in the water column, position themselves in the water column for trapping sunlight for photosynthesis. Or sometimes when the intense sunlight is there, they position themselves so that they can avoid intense sunlight. So two functions of the gas vacuole, that is position themselves according for either trapping sunlight for photosynthesis, or if sunlight intensity is more, then to avoid intense sunlight. Then comes to the last part you have seen in the diagram, pilus, plural pili. Pili helps in sexual reproduction or mating between male, and the male one has the pilus, they can attach to the female one and exchange of chromosomes, the genetic material takes place. So they are also called a sex pili, and or they stick firmly to other organisms. And pili are made up of a protein called pilin. Okay. Now come to the diagram again here. So now you have understood. See the pilus, pili. Okay, pili. Then comes to the cell envelope. We have learned the parts of the cell envelope. This is the cytoplasm, and this is the genetic material nucleus. Nucleoid, which has the DNA, and extra chromosomal DNA is called plasmid. Then flagella. Okay, flagellae we have learned in detail. So this is all in this video. Please make the necessary diagrams and the notes, and I hope you have understood. And please write the comments in the section, so that I come to know whether you have understood, or you can make suggestions also. Like, subscribe and share the video, and in the next video I'll explain about the parts of the eukaryotic cell. Thank you very much.